Serial killers have always exerted a dark fascination on true crime fans. The most disturbing cases are those in which the perpetrators were never caught, and may still be out there somewhere. In this video, we present such mysterious criminal cases from around the world. Los Angeles, January 1947. The City of Angels is basking in the economic boom of the post-war years. But on the morning of January 15th, that sense of optimism is abruptly shattered. A mother walking with her child through the Leimert Park neighborhood notices something lying in the grass on a vacant lot. At first, she thinks the pale, motionless figure is a discarded store mannequin. The horrifying truth soon becomes clear. It is the body of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short. What responding officers encounter is unprecedented in American criminal history. Short's body has been completely severed at the waist with surgical precision. Her face has been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, forming a grotesque grin, the so-called Glasgow smile. The body has been completely drained of blood and carefully washed. The location where she was found was not the murder scene. Everything suggests that the killer possessed medical knowledge and took time carrying out the crime. The press quickly seizes on the story, giving the dark-haired young woman, with a fondness for black clothing, the nickname Black Dahlia. Like thousands of others, Elizabeth had come to Hollywood hoping to become a star. Instead, she became the victim of one of the most infamous unsolved murders in U.S. history. The LAPD launched a massive investigation, questioning more than 150 suspects, including doctors, medical students, and former boyfriends. The killer even began taunting police by sending letters and packages containing Elizabeth's personal belongings. Yet despite enormous efforts and numerous false confessions, no one was ever convicted. Now in 2026, nearly 80 years later, the murder of Elizabeth Short remains an unsolved mystery. (1922) Upper Bavaria. It is April. An isolated farmhouse stands far from any larger village. Here on the night of March 31st to April 1st, a crime occurs that still raises questions more than a century later. Living on the farm is a family of 6, Andreas and Tazelia Gruber, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, her 2 young children, and a maid who had only recently been hired. Days after the murders, all 6 are found dead. The victims were apparently lured one by one into the barn and killed with a heavy object, believed to be a mattock. Most chilling of all, no one saw anything, no one heard anything, and there are no clear traces of a perpetrator. Even before the murders, strange events had been reported. Andreas Gruber spoke of footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the farm, but none leading back. The family also claimed to hear footsteps in the attic, yet a search revealed nothing. After the killings, the situation becomes even more disturbing. The perpetrator appears to have remained on the farm for several days. The animals were fed, meals were prepared, and the stove was kept burning, as if someone had simply continued living there after committing the crime. The investigation was chaotic. Numerous suspects were examined, neighbors, former soldiers, even relatives. No clear motive could ever be established, and no evidence led to a conviction. Eventually, the case was officially closed, unsolved. More than 100 years later, Hinterkaifeck remains one of Germany's most mysterious criminal cases, a place where questions linger and answers may be lost forever. Imagine dying in a place known as the Valley of Death. Your body is burned beyond recognition, and while police attempt to determine your identity, they discover something chilling. You do not exist. No clothing labels, no fingerprints on record, no one reporting you missing. This is the story of the Asdal woman, a case that has driven Norway's most experienced investigators to frustration since 1970. Because this woman was not the victim of an ordinary crime. She was an enigma. On November 29, 1970, hikers discover her body in a remote valley near Bergen. She lies on her back, surrounded by strange items. plastic bottles with scraped off labels, a broken umbrella, sleeping pills. The autopsy reveals soot in her lungs, proving she burned to death while still alive. But the real mystery awaits at Bergen's train station. In 2 suitcases, police find what appears to be the toolkit of a professional spy. Wigs, non-prescription glasses, multiple currencies, and a notebook filled with coded entries. Investigators reconstruct her travels across Europe and uncover a bizarre pattern. The woman used at least 8 different identities. At times she was Claudia Thielt from Brussels, at others Alexia Zarna Merches from Ljubljana. She spoke fluent German, French, and English, and witnesses described her as elegant, distant, and strikingly self-confident. Why such elaborate precautions? Why remove brand labels even from underwear? The answer may lie in the Cold War. At the time, Norway was a strategic hotspot, and near Bergen, NATO was testing its new Penguin missiles. A comparison of dates shows that the Isdal woman's travel route closely matched the classified testing schedule. Was she eliminated by an intelligence service, or did she take her own life when her cover was blown? If you found this case as fascinating as we did, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries from around the world. To avoid diplomatic tensions, modern isotope analyses suggest she may have originated from the region around Nuremberg, yet her real name remains unknown. The Isdal woman endures as the perfect phantom. On August 10th, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein is found dead in his prison cell in New York. The official cause of death is suicide by hanging. Legally, the case is closed, but socially, it remains controversial. The reason lies not only in the circumstances of his death, but in the man himself. For decades, Epstein moved within the highest circles of power, counting politicians, business leaders, scientists, and celebrities among his associates. In 2019, he was arrested on suspicion of systematically sexually abusing minors. The allegations were severe and suggested a network that might have extended far beyond him. A public trial could have exposed connections and forced testimony under oath, but that trial never happened. Only weeks after his arrest, Epstein was found with neck injuries, officially described as a suspected suicide attempt. He was placed under observation, yet that measure was soon lifted. On the night of his death, he was alone in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. Mandatory guard checks were not properly conducted, and later 2 officers documented rounds that investigators determined had never taken place. Several surveillance cameras failed to provide usable footage. By morning, Epstein was dead. The autopsy concluded suicide. A pathologist hired by the family voiced doubts, pointing to injuries that could also be consistent with homicide, while other experts maintained the findings were compatible with hanging. No definitive evidence of third-party involvement was found, but the accumulation of failures remained striking. In 2023, an internal investigation confirmed serious institutional shortcomings, staff shortages, exhaustion, malfunctioning equipment, yet found no proof of murder. Officially, it remains a suicide. Still, public mistrust persists because in the case of a politically explosive defendant, critical security mechanisms failed. Epstein's death prevented not only a trial, but potentially public answers, and that absence continues to fuel suspicion to this day.